The blue honey, is that where you just grind up the mushrooms and put them in the honey, or is there? I
Yeah,
forgot
yeah,
what that.
yeah. And then you let it kind of just sit for, they call for at least 3 months, but the longer they sit, the more it seeps into the honey and the more the honey itself gets, stronger. And then sometimes it says it can turn it blue. So,
Yeah.
but mine wasn't really turning blue or anything, but as I say, it can. But yeah,
Huh. You haven't taken it yet, though.
no, I haven't. I was gonna let it sit longer. It's only been 3 months, but
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. But also, I wanted to get into when I was talking about my the meditation and all that psychedelic, um, just how I would just over time letting go of parts of my old self and going through the motions, like any sort of resentment that I would have over situations in the past, I would kind of revisit them and just accept, accepting parts of our past, just pure acceptance, like to the point of like almost as if you chose it, and then
Yeah.
acknowledging that you're going to let it go and then letting it go as well as just practicing being present, nonstop present. I would say that was like, and I stumbled across this all by accident. I didn't actually like intentionally do this. I was just listening to spiritual teachers and meditating all the time. But going through this process, I really think that that was the key to really alleviating, you know, my anxiety and my depression. Like, I mean, I don't get
Yeah.
really depressed at all anymore. So I would say it completely healed my depression. But as for anxiety, I still suffer from that from time to time, but it is so much more manageable. Like before I took acid, I was on SSRIs and just depressed as shit, man. Like, it was rough, but yeah. And yeah, so that's what when we were talking about in the Discord about the anxiety and depression, I think that was the key, honestly.
Yeah. I mean, did you like find through meditation and like looking deep within? I mean, did you find a root cause for the anxiety depression, or you just found uh
There,
a reliable way to get over it?
I'd say the first one. I'd say uh, visiting moments while I was being raised, situations like that. But there was no like one big event, that like was super noticeable, like that I let go of, that I just kind of felt like this huge weight was lifted off my shoulders. It was more like a bunch of little ones for me personally, and
Yeah.
I mean, everybody's just going to be different. And I just feel like, the more resistance you have to this practice in general, more than likely the more trauma you had when you were younger or in your past in general.
Yeah. Well, I know, like for me, and obviously there's all sorts of different causes and forms that anxiety and depression could take on.
Yeah, absolutely. And you got genetically passed on too.
Right,
Yeah.
right. But I know for me that psychedelics and therapy help me like just kind of create new strategies for being, first off, being aware of what's going on when you're
Exactly.
having an anxious moment, having a depressed moment. um, being aware of yourself to stop and look at your thoughts, look at your feelings,
Don't
and
react to them. Just
let
watch
them
them.
go. And
Yes.
that's what
Yes.
meditation has taught me, is just to be like, that's just something flushing through the pipes of my mind right now, let
That's the
that go.
key. That is the
you
key.
know and
Yep.
so like that's what meditation helped me um with anxiety and depression. And I definitely attribute that to the psychedelic culture, because I don't think I would have got into meditation without the psychedelic culture, without the, at least the people, I've met through the psychedelic culture,
Hmm.
and people that I'm like oh man, that guy's really got his shit together. He's really cool. Like he has a really good outlook on things. What is he doing? I'm not doing. Oh, he meditates all the time. And there's been so many people like that that I've been like, yeah, but then I'm not going to meditate. Whatever. I don't have time. Yada yada yada. Um,
Yes.
but it is a psychedelic culture that brought me to that path to where I haven't been the past couple of months, and honestly, that's what I miss the most about like before I started my job is like not doing that. So I definitely want to get back into that routine even more than I want to get back to going to the gym. Like that's the one thing I miss. But also, going to like actual cognitive behavioral therapy. One thing through a year of doing that I realized is like you said, there isn't one like moment of trauma in my life that would have caused me to have self-doubt and anxiety and depression. It's just a history of built up like using the wrong strategy to deal with stuff that just like builds up basically like scar tissue on your ego or whatever. And
Yes.
it makes it made me or makes me, I'm not gonna say I'm over having any anxiety or depression, but uh it it's like social anxiety that just becomes everything else to where I'm worried about like personal relationships and like I overthink everything. And like there's no trauma to cause that to happen. That's just like I never learned the right way to deal with personal relationships. And I deal with them in a very anxious way for both myself and my friends and family. Um, and that's just kind of like between that therapy of helping me deal with those situations and the meditation to help me deal with like my internal awareness and how present I am and just just clearing out the cobwebs once a day. Uh, you know, Psychedelics has brought me to that point. It's like I obviously will do psychedelics again plenty of times in the future, but they almost brought me to that point to where I could say, yeah, psychedelics cure my depression. And then if someone was like, are you going to do them again? I could be like, probably not, like I don't think I'd like need them for that reason going forward, going